So you are all holding a piece of paper, which, if you haven't received one, they're actually at the doors. If you want another one, if you just want to listen, that's okay too. I didn't say take out the papers. I figured you've all already read them. You've studied them all. No. Actually, instead of a typical sermon tonight, I decided that I would find inspiration elsewhere. And tonight's inspiration actually comes from our Goodman Family Museum, which is on either side of the atrium when you come into services. And you've probably walked by art exhibits there over the past many years, and some of you may have paid attention and others may not have. I hope you paid attention to the last, the one that was over winter break-ish, because one of my art pieces was featured in it, and I actually didn't even tell them it was my name. I wanted to get accepted into the show without being Rabbi Josh, and they accepted a piece, but that show is long gone. You'll have to see it on my phone in any case. But today there is an installation that just went up in the last week or so, and it's based on this book, which is a book, a philosophical commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes by Menachem Fish, and illustrated or illuminated, which is a very fancy word for illustrated in ancient text, by Deborah Band. And I'm going to give this to Rabbi Marla to hold, so I don't have it in my hand. It is an incredibly beautiful book, and it is an even more beautiful installation. And so I thought I would entice you to go check out the installation on their way out and invite others to come see it over the next 8 weeks or so it'll be here. Till June it will be here. And it's interesting because we read the scroll of Ecclesiastes not at this time of year. We read it at Sukkot. So why is it here? I asked Rabbi Marla. She said, well, it's the only time we could get it. So here we are in the middle of the winter, and I want to teach you a little bit about the wisdom texts of Ecclesiastes, or in Hebrew, Kohelet. Now, Kohelet is actually thought of as a person's name, but the question is, whose name is it? And it turns out that many people attribute the words of this scroll to King Solomon. And if you look just underneath that first paragraph on the front of your sheet, you see that there's the three unified kings of Israel, where Israel was one unified kingdom. King Saul first, who was the first king of Israel, King David, who came and then settled in Jerusalem and made Jerusalem the capital. And then the very famous son of King David named King Solomon, who was, as you see, known for his wisdom. And in fact, this book, Kohelet, or Ecclesiastes in English, we think is the pseudonym for King Solomon. He wrote under a pen name. And he is known for unbelievable wisdom. And I just want to show you how powerful his words are by an explanation in the very first paragraph of what's called Kohelet Rabbah, or Ecclesiastes Rabbah. This is a midrashic, rabbinical text that talks about the meaning of Kohelet. So if you look at the very top paragraph, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said, to what can this book, Kohelet, be compared? To a basket full of produce that has no handles, so that it cannot be carried, until one clever person came and made handles for it. And then it began to be carried by handles. So too, before Solomon came and wrote Kohelet, no one could properly understand the words of Torah. But when Solomon arose and explained them, all began to comprehend Torah. So Ecclesiastes Rabbah really says that King Solomon's words are not only words of wisdom, but they are the key to unlocking the Torah. What did he mean by that? The key to unlocking the secrets of life, the meaning of life. We all are searching for the meaning of life, and according to Midrash Rabbah, Ecclesiastes Rabbah, King Solomon, Kohelet, this is your key to open up the secrets of life. Anybody want to read further with me? You're supposed to say, yes, I want to know the secrets of life, Rabbi. Okay, so first of all, we have to figure out what he's talking about, because the opening verse of Kohelet, which is right under there, it's Kohelet 1, 2, chapter 1, verse 2 and 3. Hevel Hevelim, said Kohelet. Hevel Hevelim, all is Havel. What does a person gain from all their toil under the sun? Now you're thinking to yourself, just like I wrote there, what the hevel is hevel? And the answer is futility. That's how it's usually translated. All life is futile. Nothing that we are doing here is all that important. It's all hevel hevalim. But actually, there's another translation that most people don't think about, and that is vapor or breath. All life is just like the steam on top of your tea kettle. It dissipates, and then it's gone. How are you feeling so far about this secret of life thing? Doesn't feel so good, right? It's a little bit of a strange thing that seems to be the great wisdom of the world. So let's understand a little bit more. Go down to now the second of those texts, the second from the bottom, that is. This comes from, again, Kohelet Rabbah, an explanation of what hevel is. And it says the world is like a fleeting shadow. But what kind of a shadow? Not like that of a wall or a tree, but the shadow of a bird in flight. In other words, it is a constantly moving target. Now we're starting to get a little bit more understanding. Life is fleeting, like the vapor of steam that disappears into nowhere, and we have to keep chasing after it. It's not like the shadow that you can stand under and get some shade from. It's the shadow of a bird. You can be it, you see it, and then it's gone. And we, as human beings, are supposed to be figuring out how to reconnect to that over and over and over again. That's starting to get a little bit more exciting to me. And then at the bottom of the page, you see one of the more famous verses from Kohelet. A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth endures forever. The sun rises and the sun sets. All rivers flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. So in that text, you start to get a sense that we aren't so important. That part of understanding the secret of life is recognizing that our lives will pass like steam from a kettle. But there's something bigger, something more important. The waters of the entire earth flow from every river into the sea, but the sea doesn't get more. It's bigger than we can really understand. And now I want to skip, because at the top of the backside of the sheet, you see that feels pretty depressing so far. Our lives are meaningless. All of the universe is nothingness. It's just fleeting and disappears, and nothing that we do matters. But even with that skepticism, Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, also is joyful. He tells us that despite all of that, we should continue to seek out joy. Sort of an unexpected turn. I would think if life doesn't matter, if life is completely fleeting, we should just go steal some food and be mean to other people. It doesn't matter. It's all going to disappear. But not so, he says. And in fact, he tells us in chapter 9, so I'm at the larger paragraph at the top of the backside. He says, go eat bread in gladness. Drink your wine with a joyful heart. For God has already approved what you do. Enjoy life with the one you love, all the fleeting days of your life. Interesting. So God has already preordained everything around us, but we still have to look to the person next to us, and maybe you want to do it right now. Grab the person's hand. Let them know, oh, you're already doing it. You're following, you read ahead of time, right? Take that hand, because even though this is a challenge, even though the things that we experience may be difficult, it's still important to hold the people next to you, to love the people you are living with, and to connect to them in this world. And then the Talmud just echoes that in that short line. It's one of my favorites. The world was only created for companionship and joy. So the rabbis of the Talmud understood this part of Ecclesiastes very, very well. They knew that despite the challenges, despite how hard life is, how fleeting these moments are, the love that we share on Valentine's Day, that's really, really powerful. So how? How are we supposed to live life? Are we just supposed to enjoy the people we love, hold people in our families, in our lives, and just recognize that it's all Hevel Hevelim? No. There's one more message that I want to share with you tonight, and it's in these bottom two phrases. In chapter 12, verse 13, Ecclesiastes says, here is the end of the matter. It's the end of the book. He says, this is what you really need to know. When all has been heard, fear God and keep God's commandments, for this is the whole duty of mankind. It's not exactly where I thought he was going to go. I didn't think that being Jewish, doing Jewish things was going to be the answer. But he seems to say, we as Jews, despite this fleeting world, have been given a path through which if we pass, we are doing God's work, holy work, and making our lives fulfilling. And so what Kohelet does, I think, is really awesome. He juxtaposes joy with nothingness and then ultimately with purpose. And if you can make that process happen, if you can go from meaninglessness, the tragedies of life, to joy, hopefully you can eventually get to purpose. And he says it's not easy, but listen closely from Pirkei Avot. The day is short and the work much. The workers are lazy and the wages are high, but the master of the house presses on. This challenge that I'm giving you through the words of Kohelet tonight may be difficult, but it's worth it. And God demands this of us. And that's what you see above the ark from the prophet Micah. Da lifnei mi ata omed. On this day, even with all of the distressing realities, know that right now you are standing before God. And I'll close with these words from the author herself. This is an explanation of the work that she has been doing in the illuminations that you'll see outside. She says that Kohelet's palace, no matter how grand, is ephemeral. The golden bowl that once held the philosopher's wisdom has cracked, but in its breakage, it reveals what truly lasts. And the final illumination of the book reminds us that all human wisdom fades, but divine wisdom endures. Even when we are gone, there is still a divine presence in this room, surrounding us, holding us. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.